I'm Shanté. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of DesignHer TV. You may not know this, but I love soul music, especially James Brown. And one of my favorite James Brown songs, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and I'll get it myself. Because for the past 20 years, that could have been the theme song of my life. I didn't want to owe anybody. I didn't want anybody to think they were doing me any favors. I didn't talk to people because I didn't want them all up in my business. And last year, when I found myself 50 pounds heavier, alone, and emotionally broken, I realized that being independent wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So on today's episode of DesignHer TV, I want to show you how to go from independent to in control. Stay tuned. Believe me, I get it. Many of us were raised by mothers or grandmothers that we saw doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and we were taught to suck it up, soldier on, put on your big girl panties, be strong. Unfortunately, one of the things that we didn't learn was how to cope when it got overwhelming. And it starts to manifest itself in some really unhealthy ways. Let me see if any of this sounds familiar. Hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, irritability, snapping at the kids. And when we don't learn how to deal with the pressure of being everything to everybody, after a while we don't even recognize ourselves. For me, I realized that I was so busy being busy that it all became a blur. And that's the trick of being busy. You're so busy being independent. You're so busy like, I got it, that's okay, I'll do it, never mind, don't worry about it. We get so caught up in me, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it, that we don't realize that the burden is getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier until we break, we fall apart, we're depressed, we're withdrawn, we don't want to talk to anybody. And so I want to shift you away from independent to in control. Because when I found myself 50 pounds heavier, not knowing what was going on at my child's school, and emotionally broken and bankrupt, I had to stop, and I realized, Shanté, your job is not worth your health. Shanté, your job is not worth your family. Shanté, your job is not worth your sanity. And so when I made a decision that my health, my family, my sanity, my well-being was more important than my independence, my whole life began to change. I started to make healthier choices in my diet. I started to make healthier choices in my communication style. I learned how to say, no, I can't do that. No, I can't stay late. No, I can't sign up for this. No, I can't be there. Because being present in my own life was more important to me than being present in a job, being present for a title, being present for an event. Because the truth of the matter is, if something happens to your health, if something happens to your family, what does the job matter then? If you die tomorrow, they'll mourn for you and they'll replace your position and life will go on. But the people that matter most, they're going to be left with the memory that I never saw my mom, or she was working so hard that I never really got a chance to talk to her. And I realized that I didn't want that to be my legacy. I didn't want that to be my life. So here's how you shift from being independent to in control. 1, realize that it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Trust people to do some of the work. Now granted, they may not do it exactly like you would do it. That's okay. As long as it gets done, don't be afraid to delegate those tasks to someone else, because that frees up time and it frees up energy for you to do things that you need to do and you want to do. It frees up time for you to go to the gym. It frees up time for you to have dinner with your girlfriends. It frees up time for you to sit down and have a conversation with your child about how their day was and what they need for their science project. 2, set boundaries and stick to them. Boundaries are completely useless if you don't enforce them. Boundaries are not just to keep you in, but to keep other things out. Guard your time. Don't let people eat up your time. If 7 o'clock is family night, spaghetti night with your family, then at 7 o'clock, you can't go have drinks. At 7 o'clock, you can't go meet with the client. At 7 o'clock, you can't go do this other thing. Set your boundaries and stick to them, because I've realized people will only do what you allow them to do. So when you allow people to violate those boundaries, they're going to continue to violate them until you stick firm and set the expectation that this is your time. And last but not least, give yourself permission to take time for yourself. A lot of times we feel guilty. We feel like if we take 30 minutes to ourselves, if we go get our nails done, or if we go have a lunch date with a girlfriend, if we do something for ourselves, we feel guilty about it because we feel like we should be doing something for other people. And we will push off our own health, we'll push off our own well-being for the sake of others. Let me tell you something. If you're not healthy, if you're not happy, if you're not well, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, you're not going to be any good to your family. You need to be whole, healthy, and complete so that you can be whole, healthy, and complete to them. So it's okay. Give yourself permission to take a break every now and then, treat yourself, and jump right back into your routine. Thanks for joining me on this episode of DesignHer TV. I'll see you next time.